lineup for today on the Now. So there's a new push to get technology into all new cars that can detect whether a driver is drunk, how that would work. Plus an inside look at the program's welcoming immigrants when they have nowhere else to go, how they're helping when people are released from ICE detention. And there's a lot of misinformation about flu shots going around right now, so we're getting the facts for you so that you can make sure you're protected and helping you get paid if you get the shot.
Thank you, Annie. I'm Amanda Starantino, and thanks for joining us on the Now Indy. Indianapolis International Airport is not only a place to get to and from your travel destination, but it's also giving you another place to shop. The airport just welcomed 9 new stores as part of a 3-year plan to revamp and refresh the concessions offered to travelers. This is the first phase and includes businesses offering clothing, suitcases, Indiana-themed souvenirs, and toys.
Some places just stand still forever. We don't. And I hope you don't expect us to. The expectation should be for us to continuously work on bettering the customer experience here at the airport.
And the toy store that we mentioned, the iconic FAO Schwartz, officially opened today. It is known for its higher-end toys, life-size stuffed animals, and interactive fun. And unlike most of the new businesses, this one is in Civic Plaza, meaning it's accessible to anyone, not just travelers with a ticket. And authorities say a well-organized machine of thieves appears to be behind the theft of tons of apples and pumpkins from orchards and farms in Indiana and Michigan. Last month, 50,000 apples were reported stolen from Williams Orchard in LaPorte County. That's just south of the Michigan state line. 7,000 pounds of apples were discovered missing October 10th from a farm in Fenton, Michigan. And that same week, 1,000 pumpkins were pilfered from an orchard in Jeddo, Michigan. A Michigan sheriff said investigators don't have any suspects, but called the heist a major league operation. All the businesses have or are installing cameras or alarms to prevent this from happening again.
It's kind of bizarre, isn't it?
A random one. Not what you would think.
Looking to the west, do you see what I see? Some clearing skies, obviously. That's over Putnam County, and some nice late-day sunshine after a cloudy, cool, and very windy day today. A little bit of color there. Now we're down in Brown County. Of course, it's hard not to just stare right at the colors, but I'm thinking big. When I look at this, I'm looking for bald eagles, too. You know they're around. Sometime we're going to see one perched right there on the foreground on one of those trees. Not today. 57 in Indy, that west wind at 22 miles per hour. Temperature down in Bloomington in the upper 50s. We'll all be united tonight in the 30s by the time we get to sunrise tomorrow morning. 53 at 7 o'clock. We steadily drop into the 40s with the sky clearing. That'll speed up the process for these temperatures to fall off. And 7:15 or so for your sunset. Temperatures tomorrow morning, no surprise here. We've dipped into the 30s many times. You'll just need the heavier coat. I'm sure you found it for today. Temperatures during the day tomorrow, warm to 64. Warmer than today, just about as windy. I don't think some of the peak gusts will be as high, but you're still looking at wind gusts at 20 miles per hour or more. 55 at noon, and your afternoon temperature 64 degrees.
Let's start the Now News feed. The top American diplomat in the Ukraine testifying in front of the House lawmakers today. William Taylor's testimony is part of the impeachment inquiry. Taylor's name came to light after text messages were released involving several other American officials discussing military aid to the Ukraine. Former President Jimmy Carter is recovering from a fall at his home in Georgia on Sunday. The 95-year-old sustained a minor pelvic fracture. He is expected to be okay. Well, there's a big announcement from the FDA. It will allow the makers of some tobacco pouches to market its products. The pouches come under the General brand name. The FDA says the company can market their products as safer than smoking tobacco. And as more states legalize marijuana, businesses are left with decisions about how to handle employees who use it.
And I think in general, some employers just are taking another look at what their policies are and determining if they may be okay if somebody shows up after just having used marijuana. And some employers may come to the realization that they are okay with that, but others, that may not be the right choice for them.
Jane Terry with the National Safety Council talked about the new policy statement on cannabis use at work. It specifically addresses those in safety-sensitive positions, people like drivers or those who carry weapons. Now, the National Safety Council says no level of cannabis use is safe for people in those positions because they don't have a scientific way to test for impairment. The council suggests marijuana be treated like medications that might cause impairment.
what we recommend is that there be a ability for employees to come to their employer, talk about what they're taking with that employer. If they are in a position that is a safety sensitive position, talk with the employer about what arrangements could be made to transfer to a non-safety sensitive position.
The National Institute on Drug Abuse found employees who tested positive for marijuana had 55% more industrial accidents, 85% more injuries, and 75% more likely to call out from work. Well, back to our lineup, a new push to prevent drunk driving with technology. Ahead, how the tech works and why some car makers aren't waiting.
Xfinity, the future of awesome.
Welcome back. Indigo is making some slight adjustments to improve on-time performance to the new Red Line bus route. Now, these take effect on Sunday. Indigo is adding layover time for drivers and travel time along the Red Line to improve bus spacing. The new expectations, a Red Line bus arriving every 10 to 20 minutes on the weekday during peak hours. When the service launched September 1st, the goal was every 10 minutes, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays. On weekends, expect a bus every 15 to 30 minutes. The original goal was every 15 to 20 minutes. Again, this new timing starts on Sunday. A reminder, the Red Line is still free to ride through November 10th.
Fewer people are dying on the road, according to new numbers from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. From 2017 to 2018, there was a 2.4% decrease in deadly car crashes, but it's not safer for everyone. NHTSA reports that there was a 3.4% increase in pedestrian deaths. Another area of progress, well, there were fewer people killed last year in alcohol-related crashes. Still, that's 10,511 lives that could possibly be saved with new technology.
It doesn't have to happen, and we can use technology to eliminate it.
Well, Mothers Against Drunk Driving is supporting newly proposed legislation that would make it mandatory for all new vehicles to have technology that can detect whether a driver is drunk by 2024. The Reduce Impaired Driving for Everyone Act would continue to fund research that's been in the works for more than a decade now. The Driver Alcohol Detection System for Safety program is still in testing, and it uses sensors to detect alcohol on the breath. It's expected to be used in fleet vehicles in the next year or so. MAD also points to other drunk driving prevention technology.
Volvo has announced that it has its own system that uses driver monitoring and cameras that could detect impairment and driver impairment, and that they're planning on rolling this technology out by the early 2020s.
The proposed bill is similar to efforts in the House that's happening right now. Well, for the first time, the FTC is taking action against a stalking app. So these are apps that monitor your phone use, and that includes call history, text, photos, GPS locations, and browser history. The FTC is now having Retina X Studios delete the data that was collected. Now, if you think someone has installed a stalking app on your phone, check your device if it has been jailbroken at all, or contact domestic violence advocates and reset your phone as soon as possible. Ahead in our lineup, an inside look at the programs welcoming immigrants when they have nowhere else to go, how they're helping people released from ICE detention.
RTV6 is working for you.
Turning to the Now newsfeed, voice assistant devices may be more vulnerable to hackers than previously thought. Security research labs found that Amazon's Alexa and Google's Assistant had vulnerabilities that expose them to third-party apps, including allowing people to listen to you. Both companies say the security issues have been fixed. Now, the way your doctor acts when they're treating you can impact how effective the treatment is. Researchers identify the phenomena as a sort of placebo effect. A new study in the journal Nature Human Behavior says facial cues your doctor makes when prescribing a treatment can affect how well it works. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't let her cancer diagnosis stop her from exercising. Ginsburg saying she still worked out despite the health issue. The 86-year-old says that included planks. Well, immigrants released from ICE detention don't always have a place to go. Elizabeth Ruiz takes us inside a house that opens its doors to offer them hospitality.
From the southwestern part of Cameroon. just almost the border with Nigeria.
Several years ago, Oliver came to the U.S. to escape genocide in Central Africa.
Number one reason why we come in here is for safety.
He says he didn't have very many rights in his country of origin, and he feared for his life.
If I didn't come here, I don't think I'll be alive. It's either I'll be dead or I'll be in jail.
So he came to the U.S. to seek asylum. He was held in an ICE detention facility during the immigration process. Eventually, Oliver won his asylum case and he was released with no money or family to help him transition into U.S. society.
I didn't even know what is Colorado.
He says a security guard told him about Casa de Paz.
We give each person a backpack, a little welcome note, a towel so that they can shower.
Volunteer Leslie Carendang says it's a temporary home for immigrants to stay in once they're released.
And we pick them up and bring them here, help them communicate with their families, and provide them with a place that they can stay, kind of as a landing pad.
With a clean, comfy bed and fresh food to eat, Casa de Paz has become a saving grace for thousands of people who have passed through. The people staying at Casa de Paz have either been released from the detention center on bond as they continue their court proceedings, or they won their immigration case. The Casa also hosts families of detained immigrants who want to visit their family members.
When I got out, they used to release lots of people. But now, sometimes they do, but I'll say it's declining.
Oliver says he's witnessed some changes since he won his case 3 years ago. He and other volunteers at Casa de Paz say the immigration process has become more difficult.
I've met people through visitations who have lost their asylum cases because it's just really, really hard to win asylum. I've met people that have just waited for a really long time, had their court dates changed consistently.
But for those who do get released, there are programs like Casa de Paz to welcome them in 23 states across the country.
I'm just blessed to be with Casa de Paz. We have a community that it's like, it's my family, because I really don't have any family in America. So this is my family.
In Denver,
Mi casa y su casa, yeah.
I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
Elizabeth, thank you. Well, recruiting efforts are underway for the 2020 census. The Census Bureau needs to hire about 500,000 census takers across the country, and pay is between $12 and $30 an hour depending on where you live. You can apply now. Collecting census information door to door starts in March.
Getting that accurate information will help not only put money in the pockets of that worker, but that person is also helping their community make sure that it receives part of that funding that will go to roads and schools and emergency resources that's needed in communities.
Census hiring events are planned across the country. You can also apply online at 2020census.gov.
Do you buy a new dress simply because you have a wedding or a big party or maybe an office dinner coming up? No need to do that anymore. Consumer reporter John Matarese shows us all the things you can rent instead of buying so you don't waste your money.
The shared economy is big business these days. Airbnb, Uber, Zipcars, and other companies have made sharing cool again. So why not share other things instead of buying them? Don't you hate buying an outfit for one dinner, then never wearing it again? A new report in lifehack.com says you can rent dresses from sites like Rent the Runway and Lending Luxury for as low as $45 a weekend. Power tools? Try Home Depot for a rental chainsaw, floor sander, pressure washer, and more. You can even rent a pickup truck to haul it in. Need a textbook for a semester? Try Chegg.com. And a real camera and lens for your special trip? Lens Rentals and Borrow Lenses can save you hundreds of dollars. But from the doesn't that sting filed one rental service that's generating some controversy, a company called Rent a Wife. It's really a Canadian-made service. If you were expecting a Saturday night date, you might say, doesn't that stink? Lifehack says you're not really renting a wife. Oh, and by the way, the name is pretty sexist. Bottom line, if it's something you use just once or twice a year, like a pressure washer, consider sharing instead of buying so you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese for RTV6.
And nature's beauty on display as you look straight to the north from downtown. The clouds are beginning to break up in central Indiana. I'll let you in on a little inside story. Leo is Amanda's dog. Yesterday, he made a quick visit, and I thought I'd go say hi to him.
You scared him, Kevin.
And he scared me, and so at the very end, I just take off running and then come right back to the studio. Watch this when he recognizes it's me, and he blasts me.
You're obviously a big threat, Kevin.
Yeah. I am a big threat. Temperatures off to the east, cooler under the rain shield. Yesterday's rain for us is now along the east coast, but we're still under the cloud shield of the cooler temperatures that have returned. This cloud cover is breaking up, as we just showed you then, with our Weather Now camera looking to the north or west. To the north and east, it'll take a little bit longer for skies to clear there. Temperature in Indy, 57 degrees right now. It's 60 down in Bedford. Temperatures will quickly fall off after sunset and once skies totally clear. The wind, the fact that it stays up a bit, will keep much in the way of frost from forming, but I do think we'll see some patchy frost as we go to the morning hours tomorrow. Through the rest of the evening, temperature by 11 o'clock down to 48. I think we'll take the 30-mile-per-hour gusts out of the picture. Generally 20-mile-per-hour gusts, and the wind lighter than that most of the time. Temperatures in the morning, middle to upper 30s north and west, upper 30s for the metro area. One of the biggest changes for tomorrow, sunshine. That'll help take the temperature by noon to 56. Afternoon readings right about 64 for the high in Indianapolis. Temperatures around the region all within a few degrees of the mid-60s. Thursday temperatures with more cloud cover returning will by noon reach 56. Afternoon temperature of about 62 for the high. As I mentioned, Friday temperatures will be a little bit cooler, back in the mid-50s, more like today, and we'll have a dry night for Friday night football.
Toxicology results of 3 American tourists who died in the Dominican Republic appear to show no signs of foul play. That's according to the State Department. Officials say the tests ruled out any issues related to alcohol. 10 American tourists have died in the DR since March. Well, do you ever find yourself thinking too hard? A new Harvard Medical School study may make you think twice about doing just that. The study says thinking can lead to less of a protein called rest, which helps people live longer. Well, with Halloween in less than 2 weeks, there's pretty much candy everywhere. And if you want to indulge without going overboard, we have a look at what nutritionists give a thumbs up to.
My favorite Halloween candy is Reese's. Skittles.
My favorite Halloween candy is candy corn.
Everyone has a favorite candy. 600 million pounds of Halloween candy are bought each year. So, of course, we want to indulge. But before we do, we wanted to see what sweet treats are more nutritious than the others. Out of Snickers and Reese's, what are the healthiest out of the two?
I'm going to go with Reese's.
Snickers.
To get the answer, we went straight to registered dietitian Sarah Scheller.
I also prefer Reese's, even though they have a few more calories per individual candy. I prefer them because they have more simple ingredients. So there's really just sugar, there's a little bit of fat, there's some chocolate, and then there's the peanuts in there. The Snickers have a much longer label with some artificial ingredients and corn syrup as well.
And what's the healthiest out of M&Ms and Kit Kats?
No idea, but I'd say Kit Kats because they're more delicious.
I would pick Kit Kat over M&Ms. I don't like M&Ms because they have all of that artificial color along with them, and they do have a lot more concentrated sugar.
Out of Sweet Tarts and Nerds, which ones are the healthiest?
Sweet Tarts.
You know, I don't know, but I'll go with Sweet Tarts.
So Sweet Tarts was my pick over Nerds. The Nerds has a slightly larger serving size with that, even though that box is really tiny, there's more candy in it.
So now we're going to ask you, what is healthier, Twix or Milky Way?
Twix. Because I like it.
Twix. Because Milky Way has a lot of stuff in it.
Between Twix and Milky Way, I would actually say that's a tie. So they have very similar amounts of calories, very similar amounts of added sugar.
So if you plan on indulging in a few pieces over the next few weeks, Sarah suggests eating them at a certain time.
It's best to eat sugar, especially processed sugar and things like that, with a meal because your blood glucose isn't going to spike as high. So I would recommend having the candy kind of right after your meal or even with your meal.
All right, next in our lineup, we're talking how it impacts obese people differently.